Did you know that children who engage in STEM activities early are 75% more likely to pursue STEM careers later on in life? As a childcare owner, you have the unique opportunity to shape the future by introducing STEM program to your young learners. So we're going to discover why integrating STEM into your curriculum isn't just a trend, but a crucial step in fostering curiosity and problem-solving skills that set the foundation for lifelong success. I'm Erica Scosio, your host, and you are tuned in to the Childcare Director's Chair podcast. Today, we are going to learn all about the STEM-tastic world of early childhood education with the brilliant Michael Newman from Evolutionary Classroom. We'll explore why because I had that in my head. That's what it was.
Hey,
It's a blooper. Cut.
it's okay. It's all right.
Yeah. We're going to explore why STEM isn't just a buzzword, but a crucial building block for kids' futures, from creating experiments to engaging tech opportunities. And Michael's going to share with us how STEM can be both fun and foundational for young learners. Whether you're a director, teacher, or just curious about how to bring more STEM into your classroom, this episode is your golden ticket to a world of exceptional educational excitement. So welcome to the show, Michael.
Yay, thank you so much for having me.
So tell folks a little bit about what sparked your passion for STEM education and what led you to create the Evolutionary Classroom.
Yeah, so I am now new for this year, I'm a STEM facilitator for my school district for the pre-K through fifth grade grade levels. So I get to enjoy of doing STEM labs all day long throughout the school year and travel to all of our elementary schools, all 7 of them alone. So it's going to be exciting and fun. But I think for me, with started in education, I started in that early childhood grade levels, and I always loved how much they were so curious about everything. They're always pretending, they're always imagining, and they're always building. And then I got moved up to those higher grade levels, and I still noticed the same thing. They still were wanting to be busy with their hands, and they were still imagining things and playing with things. So I was like, you know what? There's got to be something out for them. And then I was like, you know what? STEM is the thing to do. And so what I did was I kind of transformed my classroom into immersive learning experiences and incorporated STEM and incorporated the standards that we were teaching and learning at the time. And then I was like, you know what? I know there are other people out there that are thinking the same way I'm thinking, or like need those ideas. And so I kind of was like, the kids and education every day evolve. They're changing every single day. Plus, I like dinosaurs. So I was like, what can I do that's like dinosaur friendly, Jurassic Park friendly? But I was like, you know what? We're evolving every day as educators, as parents, as students, they're evolving. And so I was like, let me do the Evolutionary Classroom. And I was like, it still fits. Even, whatever role I may take on, it's going to be something that will just stick with me forever. So I turned that into my teachergram and my brand, and then just loving STEM so much, and then and diving into it more and more, and seeing how kids of all ages can participate in it. I think that for me is what kind of just stuck for me, because I'm like, doesn't matter what kind of learner you are, it doesn't matter if you have a disability, it doesn't matter, everyone is included in the world of STEM, and that's what I love about it so much.
Yeah, so what made me really want to have you come on the show is early childhood education is changing. The landscape is changing. And as owners or directors, we have to get really creative at, innovative programming. And obviously, STEM or STEAM, depending on, what your focus is, definitely seemed like, to me, a way to go, which is what made me say, let me have Michael come on the show. So STEM can sometimes seem like really big and complex topic. How can early childhood educators break down into simpler, smaller, engaging activities for young children?
Yeah, so early childhood educators could really simplify and make STEM engaging for young children by just really focusing on that hands-on, play-based learning aspect that can relate them to their everyday experiences. So like some of the things that I like to give strategies on, or I like to talk about when I'm doing just my lessons or talking to someone in the early childhood setting, is always start with that curiosity and that exploration. So encourage those kids to ask questions, to explore the surroundings. Let touch everything. Let them feel everything. Because sensory is a big thing. Sensory and fine motor is a big thing in that early childhood setting. And so like, for example, have them take them on a nature walk outside. Have them observe all of the different things that are surrounding them, the different plants, the insects, the rocks. Maybe you let them collect different things and bring them back to class, and then you can talk about what the things that they found. I think another thing is to incorporate simple experiments. I think that's where people kind of get a little like, oh my gosh, it's science, it's in STEM. That means I'm going to have to set up for this hour-long, project, this all-around lab. And it's not. It really can just be simple from, like, for instance, like mixing baking soda and vinegar to create a little fizzy reaction. I mean, something so simple, but you can just explain those things to your children, even if they are 2 years old, 3 years old. You just explaining those things to them, you're expanding their vocabulary, you're expanding their mind and their curiosity and their exploration. And another one that we as my school district, but I love as a STEM educator myself, is really incorporating storytelling with STEM, incorporating literacy with it. So that's where you may hear like people say stream, because that's where they include the reading and the art. For me, I just include it anyway, and it's STEM, but I mean, it's STEM, STEAM, stream, whatever. But choose a different picture book that kind of like naturally incorporates the STEM activities. So kind of that building, like building a bridge for a character. Or I always love giving the example of like fairy tales, because fairy tales always have some sort of problem and solution. So you giving them like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. She breaks Baby Bear's chair. Oh my goodness, she broke Baby Bear's chair. Well, what kind of chair could we build for Baby Bear that could fit him comfortably and for it to not break? So kind of just giving them, and then they could do it and they could build it with the block. I mean, it's just giving them, but again, that curiosity, that engaging, that play-based aspect right there, and then using that play-based learning, and maybe having them set up different stations for them just to explore with building blocks, water tables, sandboxes. I mean, you name it. It's just, and STEM is not something that is it doesn't have to be high dollar. What I love about it is so low cost, and it's really a lot of the stuff we kind of have in our classroom already. And for those early childcare babies, it is that exploration with that play-based learning is big for them. Using them, if you have like a water table, put measuring cups in there, have them measure them in the different measuring cups and play with it, encourage them to describe what they're doing and why they are doing it. And then really just always introducing those problem-solving challenges. So give them a little challenge, just like I said, the example with Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Oh no, Baby Bear's chair broke. So what can we do to build a new chair for Baby Bear? Then kind of have them explain and explore those different options of what they could build for Baby Bear. And giving and exposing those challenges, it's going to have them start kind of shifting their mindset to that problem-solving mindset, which is such a big key component farther down the line that they're going to need to know. And then really just encouraging building and construction, incorporating sensory play, group activities, not independent work. Group activities is the biggest thing for our littles, because they need that social interaction. And that is a big thing too, is giving them that social interaction, so they're not awkward in a school setting when they get to, public school, or even when they just go to church or whatever. Like, get those into those group settings so they're involving that collaboration and working as a team and making it fun and interactive, of course. But
okay.
Yeah.
Let's say somebody is like, this is their first year, they're going into a classroom. What would you say, maybe if you could give us 3 of your favorite hands-on STEM activities or experiments that can be done in an early childhood setting? I know you just said a few, but give me like 3 of your like favorite, hands down favorites, the best.
There's a lot. But I think for sure the one that kids always love is like magnet exploration. Exploring with the magnets and seeing the different things that that the magnets can pick up. Let them explore the different objects until that's attracted to the magnet. Then that will introduce them to the concept of magnetism, and it's a fun and easy way. Another one I really like to do is shadow playing, especially with the giving them their imagination. But if you put flashlights to a dark room with various objects, they can use their flashlights to create shadow figures or shadow objects. And this will explore how to get moving the flashlight closer or farther away changes the size of the shadow. Then you also introducing light and shadow concept. And then, like I kind of said earlier, was that nature walk, especially for the young babies. And that's a really good technique for a student that kind of is having a little hard time regulating their emotions and everything. You can say, you know what, let's go take a walk. And I like to call it like a silent walk, but I was like, let's go take a little silent walk. And I want you to listen to everything you hear around you. So you're outside, you're walking around, and you're having them listen to the birds or to the trees or to the wind. And then when you come back, you can kind of ask them, so what did you hear? And then you can kind of get them regulated back down to where they're supposed to be. Good, nice little reset, and then explain, the things that they did in class. But those are some really good three ones that I really like. Of course, there's a lot more, but
Yeah,
we don't have time for all those.
Yeah. And I really love what you said about magnets too. So we have the floating magnets at our school, and the kids love that. Oh my God, those. They're like,
I
how
think
come
it's like
they all go
magic.
together? They just push right off each other. Yeah, they absolutely love those. So how can directors and teachers integrate STEM into existing curriculum without overwhelming themselves or the children?
So I think really starting small. Start small and then you build gradually on it. And that's what I've kind of talked to a couple of centers already, and they're like, we want to integrate STEM, and like, what do we do? And I'm like, let's start small. So for example, if you're teaching a story about animals, so include simple little experiments or problem solving STEM lessons that will that are related to animal habitats, or even a math activity involving counting animals. So you're just kind of gradually increasing that complexity as you and the child become more comfortable with STEM. And STEM, it does involve science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So what we get a little shy of is like, we always just want to go gravitate towards that science part. So we're like, oh my gosh, we're going to have to take 15, 30 minutes to set it up. And it's really not. If you're, like I said, if you're teaching a lesson about animals, you could have some animal counters, and you can talk about each animal as they're counting. Okay, so how many, blue cheetahs do you have? Or how many red elephants do you have, depending on your counters? And I think too, you could really, easiest way too is to integrate with STEM with the story time. Giving them those different picture books that naturally kind of incorporate those STEM activities. And then after reading, you can have the child engaged in a related activity. So if the example involves building something, maybe follow up with a simple building challenge of them using blocks or different recycled materials that you may have in your classroom. So really start small. Start small, kind of like go through and be like, okay, what is something I really want to start using of STEM related? So if it's, using it in story time, which for me, that's the easiest because you can easily integrate that into your curriculum that you're using. So start small, gradually work bigger, because then you can eventually get into utilizing the art and play component, putting it in stations and centers, little makerspace areas. So, and for me too, is always linking STEM to a theme. So even if you just want to start at holidays, have some kind of, winter theme or a fall theme, just because that's giving them real world experiences that they can relate to, but it's also can be a unit, directed towards weather, or measuring temperature or whatnot. So, and then definitely collaborating with everybody around you. Everybody may or may not have in your building, experience with STEM. So start small, maybe link it to a theme or incorporate it with your literacy component in your lessons that you already have going, and then collaborate with other teachers around you, and even on social media. Social media is the best PD you can think of when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Yeah. You know what, too? Yeah. The other thing too, the other thing I think really too is, I love that you say, incorporate it with books, but even another thing that you could do, incorporating with real life. So I want to just share a little example of how STEM really grew in our program. So we were talking about animals that hibernate, and you kind of, when you said that, I was like, oh my God, this totally makes it this. So when we learned about hibernation, and then we are very community minded at our school. And so we like to make social impacts with children because we like them to make that connection of, even though you're young, you can still impact your community. So we started talking about animals that hibernate and Arctic animals, and we talked about polar bears. And so we ended up supporting WWF has like adopted animal program. So we decided we were going to adopt a polar bear. Well, every class decided they were going to outdo the other one. We ended up adopting 14 polar bears. By just having this conversation about Arctic animals, we then ended up collecting, it was like, $1,400. So I think too, when you're talking about science, when like you said that nature walk, like our impact on nature, right? And I'm lucky, we live in New England here, so we have seasons. So the bugs that we see in the fall look different than what we see in the summer, right? So, really making those real life connections too, I think, is a easy way to as you said, introduce STEM. So, what role do you see technology playing in STEM education for young children, and how can we use it effectively?
Yeah, so this is the one that it's a big part of it, but for me, like, technology is part of STEM, and I'm not saying it's not, but not every, program has an unlimited amount of technology, and so for me, I always preach to STEM is the way that you want to be that you're able to make it and make it simple for you and make it easy for you to do in your classroom and in your school. But the technology component really does enhance the learning through interactive experiences. So, giving them apps and games that are appropriate or engaging and aligned with your educational goals is a really good way to keep them active participation, rather than really giving them that passive conception of promoting that critical thinking and creativity. And then really supporting your exploration and your curiosity through apps, encouraging that collaboration and communication. So it'd be really cool if you'd have them, if they did some sort of project, and then maybe have them record themselves presenting it, and then you can make a little video. And what they're doing is it's showing them that social skills, of those digital tools and how they can work together on projects, share their findings, discuss the ideas. I know in some of our units that we'll use the technology part just for they'll go and they'll do their research on it, search for different things on. So I think one of them was, my first unit we're going to be doing is over the book. So we tie all of our stuff to literacy as cougar crossing. So it's all about the cougars and their natural habitat, and the cougar tries to get over the bridge. It gets over the freeway. And so so they have to build a bridge that will hold a certain amount of weight because a cougar is pretty big. And so I have them actually Google and research different types of bridges, and then that will go off of what they want to use. And they really only use, and all I have them for that little challenge that they make is they just use, I think they use 4 pieces of postcards, 2 pieces of copy paper, tape, and scissors. And that's it. And it's just because it's supposed to be low cost, materials, but it's just for them to kind of be exposed to that stuff. So technology does help with that stuff. And that's the one thing but I think when you do it and you first expose it to them, you really got to give them that digital citizenship, making sure you're explaining, your expectation of how to use the tablet or use the laptop, what you're searching and what you're looking for, because, there are a lot of crazy things out there. And so we don't want them to be exposed to any of that. So that just kind of gives them a good sense of being a good digital citizen, and doing things appropriately at school. But then but really it personalizes their learning. That technology really does. So giving that interactive, engaging point of view of that. And digital literacy also. I mean, digital literacy is a big thing because we do still have books that we hold in our hands, but let's be real, kids read off of the tablets and everything now. You got Epic and all the amazing digital libraries out there. So maybe even exposing to them through that and have them go look for different books on Epic, that's related to whatever the topic that you're teaching them, and showing them those different tools. So it helps them a lot. And I think it will enhance their learning, foster their creativity, and build those foundational skills using technology, for sure.
Yeah. The other thing too, I would say, because I'm a school who's very budget conscious, is
Mm-hmm.
you can make I'm going to call them prop boxes. Probably not the right word. But you can make boxes with
No, yeah,
higher cost items and rotate
yeah.
them through even the same thing with light tables. Light tables are pretty
Oh,
expensive when you buy all the things that go with
yeah.
it. You can have a light table that you literally, or maybe you have two, and you 1 month it's in this classroom and the next month it's in
Yep.
next, and rotate them, or get the
Yep.
LED light tablets, which are a lot less than a light table.
Mm-hmm.
So there are ways that you can do it that are, like you said, budget friendly, and you can get a few of the higher end ticket price things and rotate them through your classrooms. So you
Yeah.
still have that experience for them. I have to tell you, the number one learning material, I'm not going to call it toy, but learning material we have in our school are magnet tiles.
Oh, yeah.
Literally the favorite.
100%.
The favorite. I cannot buy enough magnet tiles. If I had a billion, it still would not be enough. They love
And
it.
I remember when it was just
They
the
love them.
basic ones, and now there's so many different themes and things you can build with them. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like my wife's work, she works at a like a Mother's Day Out program, and they do prop boxes that they rotate between their classrooms. Each week they rotate them
Yeah.
throughout. So you're doing it right. And I mean, if that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do. And I think
Yeah.
it's still great because then you're exposing everybody to the same thing, just at
Yeah.
different times. Yeah.
Yeah. So for educators who might not have a strong STEM background, what are some resources or training programs that you could recommend for building confidence and skills in these areas?
So STEM is one of those that it's becoming a thing now. It was a thing way back when, but now it is coming back and it's coming full force. For me, and what I have learned the most has really just been the power of social media and finding those people on Instagram and TikTok that have that really true content that's based around activities and stuff, not based around like, oh, I'm just doing a fun video just for the views. And one of those people that I love and I follow so much, and she's fantastic what she does. And she's given me so many great ideas. Her Instagram is Naomi Meredith _. And she is a K through 5 STEM curriculum, like elementary STEM curriculum person for her school district. But she also is her own self-made entrepreneur. She does like little STEM classes in her local town at a coffee shop. She's got so many great resources on Teacher Pay Teachers. So social media for me is a really big one. Another one is a subscription service. It's called Carly and Adam. And what they do is they have lessons that they have like STEM challenge lessons, social emotional holiday lessons. Then they have like monthly lessons that go through different grade levels and different NGSS standards for those technology and science standards. And what they do is you pay a subscription a month and you get access to all of their things. And I mean, now they're putting where it's like Canva slides for each lesson and it's all tied to a book. And it's from like all of the ages. I think it's like pre-K up to 5th grade. And then they have like minute to win it challenges. So they are really great web resource as well. You can't ever go wrong with PBS. Always has great STEM focused things. Let's see, NASA has some really good STEM educational like webinars or anything like that. NSTA, which is the National Science Teaching Association, that is a big one that they throw an amazing conference that I've never been. I always wanted to go. And then of course Lego education is amazing, and they've got stuff for those early little babies right there. They've got some Legos. They've got STEM kits with Dupo Legos for them to use, and they kind of build things. And I have some because I did like an early explorers or early engineers club at my campus one year, and we got it for a grant. But definitely those Lego education, and then really looking at different professional developments that have someone speaking about STEM. So I've been to the Born to Teach conference, and I taught 2 sessions on STEM. One was like STEM kind of basics on how to do little challenges, and then one was sensory play learning. And sensory is a real big part of STEM. But looking at those different conferences and see what kind of STEM things are offered, and then of course go to regular content as well, because that's always good to know too.
Yeah. Again, when you talk about innovative programming, so we at our school age program had a Lego club for many years.
Wow.
And it was so interesting that children who didn't come to our center, the parents started messaging us and saying, how can my kid go on Tuesday and Thursdays when you hold Lego club? And it really was it was set up just for the kids who happened to come to our school.
Yeah.
And we ended up doing a 2-day rate, and we had people who didn't necessarily come to our after school program come on those days. And I remember they had the little T-shirts, and on the back it said, "Where Lego Club, where friends stick together." That two little blocks. But again,
awesome.
if you're just thinking about how you're going to be competitive and have great programming for kids,
Yes.
that was Lego Club was definitely one. They got they also love speed stacking cups. We had a few groups who love those.
Yeah. Those
so
kids made up to winning challenges. Yep.
Yeah.
They love those things.
In your opinion, what are the long-term benefits of introducing STEM components to young children?
Introducing them concepts at a young age offers kind of numerous long-term benefits, setting the stage for their future learning and their professional and personal development. So for me, it's giving them that early exposure. Young children who engage in STEM activities actually learn to think critically and solve problems through exploration, experimentation, and hands-on learning quicker than the students who are not, and the kids that are not. It's like a higher percentage chance for them to actually be understanding all of those different aspects once they get into the higher elementary grades. The critical thinking and the problem-solving skills are the long-term benefit. I mean, they're essential across all subjects in everyday life. Children who develop these early are better equipped to approach challenges and creatively and analytically as they grow older. And I think, and that's the biggest thing for me, is that those are the that long-term benefit of just problem solving. Because, it's really sad. We do lack a lot of common sense sometimes. And so, I mean, having these kids, and we're setting them up for success by exposing STEM to them and having them work on that knowledge of those skills. I think too is exposing them to, that curiosity and having them want to know, well, how is that made or why is that made? So they're more likely to maintain an interest in learning and pursuing different things and innovate things throughout their lives because they've been exposed to those things at an early age. And then, of course, that gives them a good, strong foundation in math and science. They'll understand the basics of math and science concepts, paves the way for the more complex subjects in their later grades. So it helps them kind of reduce that anxiety and around STEM and science and math and not knowing, what it is or how it's going to be hard. Well, they'll already kind of have that ease, like, okay, it's not. If it's been something like I've done in STEM, I have nothing to worry about. And then, of course, that promoting that creativity, that innovation, developing that social and collaborative skills that are so important to work with, to have when you're getting older and you're having to work in group settings. You're better prepared for group projects, that teamwork in the workplace, and effective interpersonal skill relationships. I mean, you name it. There's so many long-term benefits for exposing them STEM at an early age. We probably could sit here for another hour talking about that because you've got growth mindset long-term benefits. The technological literacy component of that. I mean, you name it. I mean, there's so many positive things, and it hurts when people are like, "Oh, I'm not going to do that because that's going to take too much time." But it's not. It can be the simplest thing, and that's what I'm trying to get across to people. It could be super cheap and super simple and super short. Because I was not a teacher. If I saw something that was going to take me a 35-minute lab setup, I did not do it. Believe me, I did not do it. So I want to just give them those tools to take that into their classroom. And that's why STEM is so important, because you've got all of those long-term benefits.
So I'm sure that people are really excited about STEM after listening to this episode. So let's save them a little bit of heartache. What are some of the common mistakes that educators make when they're implementing STEM activities, and how can they avoid them?
Yeah, so I think number one is to overcomplicate the activity. The mistake is you introduce the activity that are too complex or too advanced for your kid's age group. So that will lead to crying frustration, screaming, that will lead for that, behavior will start being skyrocketing because they don't understand, they don't get it. So that means you've overcomplicated your activity. So just a way to avoid that, I would say, would be just start simple. Look for your age-appropriate activities that will build on the knowledge that they already know. Then break down the complex concepts into smaller, manageable parts, and then gradually increase the difficulty as children gain with their confidence. Because they will. Once they do it once or once they do it twice, I mean, they'll be like a whole new person when they start doing these products. And then I think another thing is, two things is focusing too much on the end product. We're excited to see the creativity and everything and the result of what it's going to be in the learning process, but we kind of get lost in that. So just kind of stick in the now and encourage that exploration, the experimentation, the creativity, and that outcome will naturally come. That outcome that you want to see, it will naturally come because they'll be learning those concepts that are being delivered rather than really thinking about what's going to be the end product. And then I think 3 is the lack of clear objectives and expectations. I know when they come in, my students came into my classroom, and when they come into the STEM lab, they will have clear learning objectives of what we are focusing on. So the mistake is, I think that people do is they conduct activities without those clear objectives. So they kind of get lost in the confusion of, okay, well, why are we really doing this activity? So I think a way for you to avoid that would be just define those clear learning goals for each activity and communicate them to the students, and then ensure that every activity has a purpose and is connected to somewhat of your curriculum or learning outcome.
Okay. So where can folks find out more about you? Give them all the info.
So you can find me on Instagram at The Evolutionary Classroom. I am on TikTok as well at The Evolutionary Classroom. And then I have a Twitter at Evolving Classroom at CLASSRM, because apparently Evolutionary Classroom was taken on Twitter, and I don't appreciate that. So if you were out there, I'm coming for you. I'm just kidding. But yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at The Evolutionary Classroom and TikTok as well. And then I will be hopefully traveling around and doing some PDs soon, and some PDs and conferences in this coming summer.
Awesome. All right. So thank you so much for being a guest, and for all of you who tune in day after day. I love you guys so much. Literally, you guys have exploded our show in literally like under a year. So I appreciate you. If you are new to our channel and you love our show, you love this episode, here's how you can help us grow. You can subscribe, you can hit the like button, you can follow us, or my favorite, of course, is that you can leave a review. We love when you leave us a review. It helps us just make our show better. So your support means the world to me. And remember, it's the little details that make a big impact on the success of your childcare business. That's it for today. As always, have a great day. Bye.
Bye.